As far as your Wi-Fi. Should be empty, right?
But
I'm happy.
yes. Oh. Nice to meet you. Yes. Yeah. No, so that's good. So we're there. We have 3 about there. And it'll be up to 20 minutes.
Actually, are you in for usually done?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You should see her. Either one. Very black students or black. Sometimes it's 6 or 7 years and like looking yeah. Well, they're trying to get the library. So yes, they like yeah, they have the library there's no space. I would say that's not a lot of black use space. Yeah, they so trying to fix these problems with the gap. No, but we have a lot of applications.
I'll ask.
Right. Yeah. Well, you saw through the game. So I made several
Hi, Chris. I was looking to see if that was me. It's me, right?
Not sure what. You think that's being broadcast?
It is. I just got a text that it is. Okay.
Sorry, I'm late.
So what am I gonna be in next one?
And I've been from John.
This is a great program.
That's war, Christmas cup, huh?
What is that? You never know.
You haven't heard the controversy of Starbucks?
It's like the most ridiculous thing.
Well, that's like the Fox News war on Christmas crap.
Right, yeah. According to our.
So I can imagine schools saying like that. If you can see, we were talking about
Everything to an extreme, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything to an extreme. I knew it.
How you doing, Mark?
I love that.
All right, we all ready? Sorry I was late, everybody. Okay, so I call this meeting to order at 7:06 and we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item, approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item, approval of the open session minutes from November 2nd, 2015.
Make a motion to approve the open session minutes of November 2nd, 2015.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so the open session minutes for November 2nd, 2015 are approved. And approval of executive session minutes from November 2nd, 2015. Good motion.
Make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of November 2nd, 2015.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so these are approved on November 2nd, 2015. Opportunity for community comments. Would anybody like to ask a question or say anything? Okay, cruising right along to student comments and Chris.
Thank you.
Welcome.
A couple of key things that have been going on in NIMUC. On November 9th, NIMUC hosted its school-wide 21st Century Learning Conference. The day provided students with an authentic conference experience from the online signups to the keynote and breakout schedule for the day. Students responded positively to the expectation that they came dressed for success. Breakout sessions ranged from practical to informal with a focus on college and career preparation. Presenters ranged from those located in local industries and even as far away as Washington, D.C. Partnered with NIMUC faculty to inform students on topics such as entrepreneurship, the benefits of volunteerism, employability skills, trends in college admission, resiliency, and future planning. NIMUC Regional would like to thank the parents and community members for the tremendous support for the school received for the New England Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation visit on November 1st through 4th. It was an exciting 4 days of pride as the school welcomed educators from across New England to get their feedback on our school's achievements and progress. We are appreciative of the many ways that our community provided support. NIMUC expects to receive a full report from the accreditation team in the spring of 2016. And lastly, NIMUC Regional High School Drama Guild is proud to present their 2015 fall production, The American Classic Harvey by Mary Chase. This tale about a man, his family, and his odd friendship with a 6.5-foot invisible rabbit tackles issues of acceptance and tolerance, all while leaving you chuckling in your seat. You won't want to miss these two very talented casts, led by seniors Sam Crocker and Alex Martin, junior Vanessa Shepard, and sophomore Katie Block. Tickets are $10 for adults and $7 for students and seniors. You can buy your tickets online at ticketstage.com. Don't miss the show. So that's what's going on in the book.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, Chris,
Yeah,
how did you, for the career fair, how did you sign up? Like, how did that all work?
So it was a link that was emailed to each student, and you would go on and you would sign up for the classes in the time span that you were interested in.
And
So-
that was the half day, right?
Yes,
How many classes did you get to go to?
3, I believe. A couple were with our class, and then the other 2 were broken up into 2 that you had chosen. So I want to go to college for like business, so I picked 2 business classes, and they were really interesting. And they brought in 2. One was like a startup company, and they brought in somebody that started up his own company. I thought that was a really cool thing. So it was awesome.
Excellent. That's great. Did you find that your peers enjoyed it?
Yeah, absolutely.
As well?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so moving right along to superintendent comments.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Just as an update, and I kind of wanted to say this to our parent base out there. About a week and a half ago, I put out an all call to all of our parents to see if they were interested in being part of the committee looking at updating our technology plan. Got a great response. We ended up with 26 parents who kind of expressed that they wanted to volunteer their time and efforts to this committee. The original intent was to kind of keep a manageable committee, something in the ballparks of about 15 to 16 people. I think with that number, what we will do is we'll probably develop some type of subcommittees. We'll also develop maybe a couple different review committees and so on. We asked people in the sign-up link to kind of talk about why they wanted to serve on this committee, and we've got a lot of passionate responses, particularly from parents who work in the tech industry and have quite a bit of expertise. So in the coming week, what we'll do is we'll reach out to all of those parents, and we'll develop a timetable for meetings and so on over the next 4 months, because the goal is to have this committee complete its work by the end of March. Okay.
So when you say that are you keeping the committee to 15 to 16, or you're
Probably,
trying to involve everybody
probably the
with
core
subcommittees?
committee that will do the lion's share of the work, and a lot of the nitty-gritty work will be 15 to 16, but maybe also some subcommittees around brainstorming, subcommittees around the review of the plan, and so on. Because keep in mind, we also have a decent amount of our staff members, administrators, and also some students from both Nipmuc and Michigan to serve on this committee as well. Okay.
Yes, the subcommittees would involve additional people or still just that core 15 or 16?
No, it would involve the additional
Everybody
people.
who
Yeah,
expressed an interest.
correct. Correct. Because I really don't want to email back and get into a situation where somebody's taking the time and effort. People into the fold.
And how did you choose the students and faculty? How does that, is it like same process or?
What we did is our principals kind of put an all call out to their staffs.
Yep.
And I think with regard, particularly to our students, we put an all call, but
Nope.
we also targeted some students. We know that at MISCO, we've got some students that are very much into coding. We've got some students at Nipmuc also into coding, or also into looking at a computer science related field of study and so on. So those are the students that we pulled out. Okay. Second order of business, again, kind of speaking of technology, just as an FYI, we're very excited to host the first ever Blackstone Valley One-to-One Learning Summit, and it's going to be a 2-day event. It's going to be this coming Friday and this coming Saturday. And really, if I were to put it around a larger topic, it would be around the area of professional development. On Friday, for basically in the time frame of about 8 to 12:30 or so, we will be inviting educators from throughout the Blackstone Valley and also actually statewide to come here to Nipmuc to see various demonstrations, presentations, and a panel presentation on how teachers, both at MISCO and here at Nipmuc, are effectively integrating technology, and specifically through our one-to-one program. And then on Saturday, during that same exact time frame, that 8 to 12:30 time frame, we will be offering an ed camp for educators, again, around a technology focus. So I put in your package a link to the website that has all of the information. I know the administration for both the middle school and the high school, along with Anthony Amatrano, have been working on this. It's part of an aspect of our district improvement plan for this current year as far as our technology goal. So it's something we're very, very excited about. We're very excited to share best practices, but also to learn from our fellow colleagues. And last but not least, you should have in your folder the year-to-date expenditure report for the FY16 budget. I think our expenditures and our encumbrances are right on target for where we would expect them to be through this fiscal year. Jay, is there any line or lines that you'd like to highlight?
No, I think everything looks pretty good. This is the time of year when I start to get concerned about building maintenance issues that continue to pop up, and so far we're in pretty good shape.
That's my report.
Okay, moving on to administrator comments. We'll start with the AP and SAT results with John Clemens. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Good evening, everybody. As Chris said, before I get started, it's been a busy couple of weeks at Nipmuc, and I just want to say thank you once again for being part of the accreditation visit. It was an exciting 4 days, as Chris said. We look forward to getting our report back in March or April, but the initial feedback was very strong. You know, I was here about a month ago talking about the progress we've made. I won't walk you through all that again, but I was thrilled that the team was very familiar with the standards, very professional, very free with their praise of the work that we've done, and I'm looking forward to getting that feedback as well. So from NEAS to our 21st Century Learning Conference to now talking a little bit about our data and our achievement. I know a few weeks ago you heard about Nipmuc's MCAS. Continue to be really pleased with MCAS, but it's just one measure of what we do. So tonight I'll be talking a little bit about AP, SAT, and our new 21st Century Learning data. So we'll start with AP. I would say the theme of this presentation is growth and achievement. You know, I've been pleased with the growth of the AP program. You see from the stats behind me that we've had we've more than doubled our course offerings in AP over the course of the past 5 years. So now having 17 offerings for 620 students, it's a huge number. A few of the stats that are not on that slide is that of the class of 2015, 67% of our kids ended up taking an AP course. So important for us. An AP course is a college level class. We send 90% of our kids to a 2 or 4 year college. So it makes sense that we're getting them that experience while they're in the doors of the school. You can see the numbers have grown quite a bit, and I want to emphasize that growth piece from our enrollment to the number of AP students we have. But I want to point out that 77% achievement number, in addition to having the growth and the expansion programs. If you look back at 2011 data, our achievement was 76%. So when we were much smaller, offered half the courses that we offer now, we had the same level of achievement. So it goes to our kids, teachers, kudos to both for redefining what high expectations in the school can look like. We offer more AP courses per capita than any school that I'm aware of, comparable with a lot of the private schools, and our kids are knocking it out of the park. So that is due to the PD that our teachers are getting, the hours they're putting in, the Saturday sessions our kids are participating in, but they're doing really well with that. Which goes to the next slide. I know I provided you with a boatload of data. I won't go through all of those slides, but I'll just point out some of the highlights. 100% passing for both ELA language and Spanish language. So really pleased to see those numbers. I think a validation of the hard work that's going on in those classes. It's also a vote of assurance for our kids that if you're in these classes, you're going to do well and have a chance to do well. You see behind me that we have AP Stats, one of our more popular math offerings, and for a lot of our kids, becoming their 5th math credit while they're in the doors of this school. We continue to average around 3.75 in the 3 years that we've had this class. Amy Gilchrist is a Partners in Excellence award winner, meaning that she can recognize as one of the best AP teachers in the state, and she continues to knock it out of the park with the AP Stats. You look at computer science was in its 2nd year last year, 78% increase in the number of qualifying scores. It's due to confidence and professional development, but also due to the fact that we're now giving all of our sophomores a quarter of computer science as part of our fundamentals of mathematics class. So getting them introduced into what I think is going to be the next algebra, computer science, while they're in the 10th grade, and give them a little motivation to take that AP course. If you go to the next slide that you see, in addition to those, we also have macroeconomics for the first year, first time last year. We had 2 sections of it due to really high enrollment, including offering it to about 9 sophomores last year. So an AP access point for a lot of our kids. The 30 qualifying scores is fantastic. AP Calc is taught by Ron Cochran, Ron's another Partners in Excellence award winner. 14 5s out of the 36 kids who took that test. So if you're in that course, you have the chance to achieve at the highest level. Because our kids have done so well in AP Calc 8B, we've added BC this year. So in adding Calc BC, we're providing the kind of high-level programming that is going to get a student into a top-notch engineering program. So we're excited about that. And I mentioned too, we have 17 offerings in our program studies, but we also have 4 offerings that we provided to kids through VHS for high school. So distance learning through an online model, and they're allowed to get expansion of the classes that we offer here. So really, we're talking 21 classes that our kids can participate in. So if we switch and go to the next slide, I'd say some of the highlights for this year. We're looking at AP US History and AP Europe History as 2 areas of focus for us. Got 2 new teachers taking that over, Chrissy Manzella and Dan McIsaac, gone through some training, and they're working hard to get those numbers where we want them to be. In addition, we've added microeconomics. With such a huge response to macro, we thought we'd offer micro and flip-flop them year to year. So many of our kids, as we know, are participating in our DECA program. We're one of the largest, strongest programs in the state. Just like Chris was mentioning, we have a lot of kids who are business-minded. We want to give them that opportunity to get a leg up on other businesses. So the macro and micro are taking off. And again, 2 sections, I want to say about 50 kids in macroeconomics this year. We have potential to grow our English numbers as well. For a long time, English was our bread and butter. It was a class of the 8 offerings we had. If you took an AP course, you generally took the AP English. As we've expanded with options and giving kids variety, they're trying some of the ones that have not been typical in our program studies. But our English teachers are doing a phenomenal job, and we know that we can get more kids into those sections, and we have great confidence that they'll be successful. So I'll be working with the Mass Insight partnership in order to get those numbers up a little bit, give kids more opportunity. I mentioned the theme of growth and achievement. If we move to the AP scores, you can see that theme is consistent there as well, pardon me, the SAT scores. So I'm going to go through 3 SAT scores with you: the critical reading, the writing, and the mathematics, and I want you to see the trend. The blue is NITMUC scores, the pink, red is Massachusetts scores. You'll notice that the Massachusetts norms have not yet been released by the College Board. So if you look at the growth over the course of the past 3 years, going from 523 to 542 in critical reading, I think there's a direct correlation to the increased rigor, the number of kids who are taking AP courses, and the fact that honors classes are becoming more challenging. High tide raises all boats. You can see this in the SAT data. If you go to the writing data, you see the same thing. An even bigger increase as we go from 511 3 years ago to 540 in this past test administration. So again, the trend is moving forward. If you take a look at math scores, we have our biggest jump from 523 to 575. So we're moving in the right direction. It's not by accident. Teachers are working hard. They're getting better every year. I'm thrilled too that although these numbers are moving in a positive way, I see opportunity. The grant that allows all of our kids free access to Navion's SAT Prep Me course. That's an individualized digital learning process by which they can take practice SAT tests, find out areas that they're weak or they need improvement. In the test, the program customizes lessons to give them practice. there are games, there's practice. In a lot of ways, it's like the course you get from a great option for everybody that they can do in their spare time or summer vacation or their winter break, whatever it may be. Kids will take advantage of it, and it definitely impacts scores. And again, thanks to the Ed Foundation for that. And finally, I want to move ahead to our 21st century learning data. You know, when I talked about NEAS, that we've added another layer of data collection here at NIPMUC. In addition to content and our regular program of studies, we are now measuring skills. We do that through a process of school-wide analytic rubrics. So we have 6 rubrics to measure our 6 skills, which are communication, problem solving, technology, collaboration, adaptability, and civics. So we see these skills as a gateway to success, not only within the walls of this school, but on a college campus and in a career or profession. So we are measuring students in their progress with those skills. Last year was the first time that we formally used those school-wide analytic rubrics and reported data out to students and families through the report card, and now reporting school-wide achievement to the community. Joe, if you just click on that for 1 second, and click on that main picture. This is a little messy with all these slides, but if I take you to the NIPMUC NEAS site, you scroll to the infographic, Joe. So the infographic here, maybe if you blow it up a little bit. Thank you. So the infographic gives you an idea of the number of kids who are proficient in advanced in these different scoring areas. So remember, we're measuring kids across all grade levels with the same tool. And you can see 73% communication proficient advanced, problem solving 80, technology 95. Collaboration is our highest at 98%. Dips a little bit with adaptability at 79, and we have just finalized our civics rubric, and it will be used for the first time during term 2. So we're excited about that. A couple of things that's new and interesting about this data, especially with collaboration and adaptability, we are now measuring process rather than product. So all the research, all the data says that if we're going to get our kids prepared for real world and authentic learning experiences, it's not just what they know, but how they use what they know. So how do you participate meaningfully and effectively as a member of the group? We're teaching that now, and we're measuring it through the collaboration group. I think measuring process is a challenge for our teachers, something we'll get better with over time. So as kids are working on a project together, they have their rubrics out, they're going group to group, seeing if they're communicating clearly, if they're sharing responsibility, if they're adapting to challenges on the fly. It's a new process for us, but it's exciting data for us to have to help shape our programming. More than that, it helps us get our kids ready. It fits right in with the theme of what Beth organized for the 21st Century Learning Conference, that our job is not merely to fill them up with the right kind of information, but show them how to use that information. And we have data now that tells us just how successful we are with that process. Our teachers are knocking it out of the park. Our kids are asking for more and doing better every year. Any questions about that data? Sorry to go fast. I know we have a full agenda. Tried to go through that. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, moving right on to the NISCO's new peer mentoring program with Ann.
So thank you very much for having us here. We're really excited about the new peer mentoring program that we have. Come on over, come on over. We have our Sal, she's behind. So we've had through Rachel's Challenge, we've had a peer mentoring program for several years. Most of the time it was a whole school-wide peer mentoring program where during one block of the day, probably once a month or every other month, we would get students together from different grade levels and kind of meet and greet. We wanted a more impactful, sustainable, meaningful peer mentoring program. So Kathleen Allen, our guidance counselor, and Jen Grant, our adjustment counselor this year, kind of took it on. They did a lot of prep work last year, a lot of meetings in the spring about how we were going to roll this out. So right now, we started, I think, with 8 pairs at the beginning of the school year. We've got 26 right now, 26 pairs with mentors and mentees. Kathleen let me know that she has another 3 on her desk ready to pair up. So it's a growing program. And how it works is 7th and 8th graders put into Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Grant of why they would like to be a mentor. We're looking for children that are reliable, positive, have had experiences. And Mrs. Grant and Mrs. Allen pair them up with 5th and 6th graders who would like a mentor. A lot of the times it's a student that asks for a mentor, or a parent will call and ask, or teachers or staff or the guidance department. So there's a lot of pairing and a lot of sharing. And they meet once in a 6-day cycle, either during lunch, during elective, or during project block. So enough kind of talking about me talking. I'm going to let the students talk a little bit, and they're going to share how they feel about the program. Maybe this is John Manacchio. He's one of our 8th grade students, and Chris Lanier is a 6th grade student new to our school this year from Chicago. And then we have Paige Allen. She is a 7th grade student, and her mentee is Josie DeLongchamp. So we'll start with John and Chris, and they can kind of start us off about how the mentoring program is going for them.
Yeah, it's been going good. We meet every day for project block, and we get to talk, we get to hang out. We play basketball a lot up in the upper gym. Yeah, so it goes.
You've had the opportunity to bring in some other students as well.
Yeah, we've had other people come and play basketball, like 2-on-2 games and stuff like that.
Chris, how has it been for you?
It's been good. It's been nice having a mentor. Never had a mentor in my life before, and I'm glad I'm getting the help I need.
Paige, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Some things I like to do with my mentee, we go and we play a lot of sports in the upper gym, and sometimes we play board games in the guidance office. And I know I love talking with Josie every day during both of our electives, and we just have fun.
About field hockey.
Oh yeah, we play field hockey. We played like catch. We're gonna play soccer on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And your field hockey has sparked what? What are you now going to sign up for, Josie?
I'm going to sign up for the field hockey enrichment.
And also, Paige is going to help you practice for the musical in the spring.
Yeah, so it benefits both of us. We get to help each other prepare for stuff.
So you can see there's a lot of connections, and we feel strongly at MISCO that if we can get peer connections, students will use those peer connections to make better decisions when they're moving up to the high school. It's an easier transition going up to the high school. Now they will know other students that are up there, and it's just a friendly face in the crowd. So there's a lot of positive benefits from the peer mentoring program. It's really working out well. The students are kind of taking ownership of each other and really are invested in their outside activities, in their schoolwork. And it's nice having another student really looking over you and being responsible for you.
It's been a positive experience. A couple of our students that were mentees last year are now mentors this year. So as they move up, they get to move into that role. So I think it's positive for both the mentee and the mentor.
A funny thing that's happening is that we have so many children going in and out of guidance, which is sometimes children look at guidance as, oh, you only go in there if you have problems. But we have so many children going in and out. There's now more children going in and asking for help from the guidance counselors for academics or social problems. They put this nice poster together. We have a camera at school that we go around taking pictures, and Mrs. Grant is a photographer, so she's been taking a lot of pictures of our mentoring program. And the kids, these are just quotes of some of the things that the children have shared with us.
One of the quotes that I know really touched Mrs. Grant and I, as an 8th grade student, shared when she was filling out her quote that she's really come into herself by being a mentor and learns about who she really is. So that was very meaningful.
And our mentors are not our A+ students that are do-gooders. There are students that we know have leadership qualities in them, and we kind of ask them to be mentors, and we know that they would be a perfect pairing for one of our 5th and 6th grade students. So we're hoping this just rolls along, and 5th and 6th grade students become mentors as they go along. And the high school has a whole bunch of programs that our mentors can just jump into and be prepared for.
Any questions at all for us? I have a question, Ann. So you said that you're 23 right now?
26 right now.
26 right now. What is your goal? Are you going to try to do more mentoring, or?
Absolutely. As the children want mentors or want to be a mentor, that's how the program will go. It's not for everybody, but it will grow based on the children's needs and the children's desires to be a mentor. So we won't push anyone into mentors or mentees, but we certainly hope it will grow to everyone having a mentor and a mentee. We have about 20 more applications pending. So just pairing them, it's about scheduling. It's a lot of work to figure out where they can be and have the same schedule. You know, they have to have an elective or a lunch at the same time. So we'll print the kid's schedule and we get the application, and then as soon as we find a kid who we think needs a mentor, we start looking for those applications and see what interests pair as well as their times.
So can any child who's interested apply, because you said fill out an application?
Any
or is it
7th
something that,
Any 7th or 8th
any
grader can
7th or
apply.
8th grader? Or if somebody just has an interest in being a mentor, do they need the validation of a teacher or?
Nope, we
No.
just have them fill out the application and why they'd like to be a mentor. Some of our kids we've had referred, parents have emailed me and their child has interest. So just giving them the little push to come into the guidance office, and then it ends up being a great pair. You know, we have kids who are in the Spanish immersion program at different grade levels, into different sports. And sometimes teachers recommend students and kind of get them. That's how we got the program started, because we announced it several times and weren't getting that many kids motivated. And then the teachers started making announcements.
Speak up and say, I think you'd be great for the
Yes.
more motivated.
Then I was having kids corner me in the hallway. When am I going to be a mentor? I think the slowness of the program, how it's been 2.5 months and we've grown it slowly. We've made it more meaningful. It's not just we're not just pairing a child and pairing a mentee. It's a deliberate pairing of two individuals that have common interests that want to be together.
Word of mouth is really spreading it too. You know, among the older students, we have them asking us all the time, did you get my application? And I know Josie sparked a mentee the other day who came in and said, Mrs. Allen, I really want a mentor. So the kids are really talking it up. Yeah.
Chris, do
You have another question?
So I think this is a really good idea, first of all. I think this would do really good at the high school as well. I think if like the upperclassmen, say the freshmen, speaking from experience, when you come in freshman year and you're kind of scared of the world, I think this would be a great thing with the upperclassmen, especially just a day-to-day basis with questions regarding the classes or whatever, sports. I think it's a really good idea.
And we hope as the kids move up, maybe that can,
Yeah.
they can carry that. And it's really nice because we really tried for 2 years to try to get a good, meaningful program, and it really wasn't working. But because of Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Grant, they worked out a nice way to do it, that it became a really promising program. So we're very excited about, very proud of this right now. It's wonderful to walk around at certain project block is a lot of time during the end of the day and the electives. So it's 5th and 6th period, you walk around, and the guidance department has a number of pairs all together. The library, Mrs. Arnold has been great in taking in students in the library because there's a lot of space. And they're up in the gym, they're everywhere. So it really is. Any given time, we can have about 8 pairs. We have a schedule, so we know where the children are. It's very organized.
I could just see this developing just a greater sense of community among the students as they're going through. What kind of training like when they join, fill out the application? Do you have a little training?
So
program that
Mrs.
they-
Allen and I sit down and we talk with each student who's going to be a mentor, but we also talk with each student who's going to be the mentee. So we can let them know, like, this is what we're going to do, this is how your time with your mentee will go, because sometimes the mentees are a little nervous and hesitant, more so than the mentors. So getting them to buy in. Usually after the first meeting, they've bought in, and it's wonderful. They have a great time together. And we are always looking for that little connection, like baseball, something like that. So which really sparks an interest to get things going. I mean, a new pair we had today, they were very anxious about it, the two of them. But I'm like, oh, there's some games in there. They get headbands, and then the next thing you know, they're laughing and giggling and having a great time. So it's really, and kids are meeting kids they would normally not meet. So which is a nice connection. Like Paige and Josie may have never met, or Chris and John may have never met had they not come across the program.
Excellent program.
We really think that every child is a leader, has leadership capabilities, and we just want to bring that out.
Thank you. Thank you for putting the time into creating this program. I think it's wonderful, and we all kind of are in agreement that it will build a greater sense of community, so that's wonderful.
I think Chris had a great idea. It would be nice to see it to the high school.
Yeah,
Because it's a nice two-way exchange, and for students who are freshmen at the high school level, I think having a mentor from grade would be great.
Yeah, change is always tough, so whether you're going from, one of the elementary schools to the middle school, and the middle school up to the high school, it's tough being low man on the totem pole and trying to figure everything out, and having somebody who's seasoned is awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna let our little ones go home.
Please have their homework done. All right, so moving on to subcommittee updates, and we have a policy subcommittee update. So we have the second reading and approval of revised policy JKAA. That's me, right? Could we just table it?
No, I wouldn't table it. This is just a continuation. I'll gladly chat. This is a continuation. We had our first reading of two revised policies, policy JKAA on physical restraint of students, and policy EDC, emergency plans. And as I say in my background notes and what was noted at our meeting of November 2nd, both of these policy updates are based upon recommended updates from MASC, and both directly speak to recent changes in either law or regulations at the state level, specifically new regulations regarding physical restraint of students, particularly defining physical restraint, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and then policy EBC reflects changes that require local police and fire authorities to be involved in the creation of emergency plans at every school level, and also annual testing. So for this, now that we're on second reading and approval, we would need a formal motion and a vote for approval for those revisions.
Okay, so you want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the revised policy JKAA as written.
Any discussion? No discussion? Okay, so do we need to just do a all in favor vote?
All in favor?
Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so that revised policy JKAA passes. And are we doing EBC as well?
Correct.
Okay, so a motion for policy EBC.
Make a motion to approve policy EBC, emergency plans.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so EBC passes as well. Any old business that we need to attend to? Okay, moving on to new business and the Metrowest Adolescent Health Survey results.
Okay. I'm going to come from behind the desk, and I've got a few slides, and I got to be honest, my 48th year has been a bad year for my eyesight, and we've got a lot of charts and graphs here, and I think that distance, what do we got, like 30 feet there? I honestly won't be able to read it. But we've administered the Metrowest Adolescent Health Survey a couple times now. We did it in 2012, and then we did it almost a year ago in late November to all our students in grades 6 through 12. Okay, and to my knowledge, I believe it was the first time in the history of the district that we administered this. And the mission behind this survey is to really inform good data on what we're doing within our schools, but also within the community with regard to practices. As I say here, it's sponsored by the Metrowest Health Foundation, And it's a very comprehensive survey. Okay, 140 questions for the high schoolers, 110 for middle school, and you see the following topics: substance abuse, violence, behaviors related to unintentional injuries, and I'll talk a little bit about that, sexual behaviors for high school students only, mental health, diet and physical activity, and also protective factors. What are the positive things that our students have in their home lives, but also in the school setting that helps offset risk factors? Like I said, we've given it in 2 different years. We've got a fairly high response rate here at the high school, 88%, at MISCO, 93%. We offer a passive consent so that if parents want to opt their children out, they certainly can. And the survey itself is modeled very much after a national survey that's been around over the last 20 to 30 years, known as the Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System, which the CDC generates. So some of our data is specific to Nipmuc or MISCO, but we can also compare it regionally. We can compare it to the state, and we also can compare it to national on some of the items. Okay. As far as the Metrowest survey, we're one of 26 districts that gave this survey. I do have to say, somebody who we know well from Mendon, Kevin Rudden, clued me into this, I want to say now about 4 years ago, because he's tied in with Metrowest as well. And if you want any grant funding from the Metrowest region, you need to administer this survey to students. And we've had the opportunity since to take advantage of some grant opportunities. Like I said, and I'm going to go over a lot of data. Hopefully I'll do it in a streamlined fashion. Now realize we got a total of 241 data slides on both our high school and middle school students. I'm going to try to condense it down as much as possible for tonight. I had to make some executive decisions on some things that I thought would be the most important and the most timely things. But like I said, the data is almost overwhelming, and it's disaggregated by student's grade, by male, female, by, like I said, you know, our data versus the region versus the state versus the nation, and also yearly trends. Do you notice any trends from 2012 to 2014? So just before I get into some of the specifics of the slide, looking at kind of the 50,000-foot view, we do see some positive trends. I mean positive trends by substance abuse going down at the high school. We also see some positive trends with regard to bullying behaviors and how our students respond when they see bullying or cyberbullying. Okay. I think you will see some of the data with regard to substance abuse, and I think some of it at first blush, if you don't have perspective, can be a little bit alarming. And I had the opportunity about a week ago to sit down with our school nurses, with our school adjustment counselors, and they really remarked how a lot of this data really closely aligns with some of our mental health data, particularly looking at the degree of anxiety, the degree of depression, and so on, that is within society, but also within our student body. So we'll discuss that. We also noticed too some of our data of female versus male. Okay, greater numbers with regard to substance use, but also with a degree of mental health issues. Also, again, protective factors to offset the risk factors. we found that they were fairly strong, both within the school setting, and particularly within the home setting, within our communities. So looking at this first, and again, I made some decisions. We could be here literally for 3 or 4 hours. There's some data that I chose not to get into, things like perceptions of weight, nutrition, and so on. And I kind of went to some of the data that I think is the most important for us to really grapple with. And first, looking at the substance abuse data. So a couple ways they report it. They report data, substance use by lifetime use, which is a simple question. Have you ever used this substance? Okay, so if you were to take a look at lifetime use, these are for our students at Nipmuc. 22% say at some point in their life they've tried cigarettes. 58% at some time in their life they've tried alcohol, and 39% at some time in their life they've tried marijuana. You can see from 2012 to 2014 a downward trend, okay, which is something that a lot of consistent data with regard to Nipmuc. If you look at grade 7 and grade 8 at MISCO, you see relatively low numbers, 7% alcohol, 11%, I'm sorry, 7% cigarettes, 11% alcohol, and 5% marijuana. They also ask them questions about inhalants as well at the middle school level. To put things in perspective, how do Nipmuc students rate versus the first bar would be Nipmuc students, the second would be region, the third bar would be state of Massachusetts, and the last bar is nationally. So you can kind of see from the trends, Nipmuc students are lower in the use as far as have you tried it versus the state and nationally, but higher than regionally. Okay, and again, similar type trends with regard to MISCO students versus regional students. I brought this up for, this is another way that data can be broken down, and this is strictly high school students. They ask them additional questions, ecstasy, cocaine, prescription drugs, heroin, and meth. Okay, small numbers, but one jumped out, and that is use of prescription drugs. Okay, as you can see, this is a breakdown by female versus male. 11% of females and 12% of males at Nipmuc report that they've used prescription drugs that were not prescribed to them. Okay, and you can see the heroin numbers. I think this is a real source of concern. Okay, you know, and again, talking to our school nurses, but I think it's also borne out through research. The gateway to opiates, in all likelihood, is going to be prescription drugs. It's probably not drinking. It's probably not marijuana. Okay, again, comparing it, our students' use versus regionally versus nation, you can see kind of it mirrors those trends, but again, we talk about the opiate crisis. Look at those spikes at prescription drugs. Okay, here's the piece that I was talking about. Our alcohol usage, when you break it down, again, lifetime use, you've tried it. You've got a spread of about 12% in alcohol and a spread of about 6% in marijuana, higher by female use than male use. Okay, as far as, again, trends, positive, okay, the numbers in 14 are lower with the exception of one around binge drinking. They ask students, have you ever tried it? Are you currently using it? And current would mean you've used it in the last 30 days. So, oops, I'm sorry. So right now, we've got 39% of Nipmuc students saying, I've had at least a drink in the last 30 days. When you compare those numbers for 7th and 8th grade students, you see they're smaller, they're single digit. Okay, I think something that kind of jumps out, at a party or hung out where alcohol was available in the last 30 days, you're talking about 6% of our kids at the middle school. Trends in marijuana use, I think, are fairly flat, but again, 39% of Nipmuc students, and then 28% say that they smoked in the last 30 days. And again, single digit, very small numbers for MISCO students. Here's something that I think is very, very telling statistic. Access to prescription drugs. Okay, so from the students that said, and again, we're not talking about a large percentage of students. We're talking about this 11%. Where did you get those prescription drugs from? 45% say from a friend, 35% say took them from their parents without their knowledge. Okay, and having that conversation with the school nurses, you kind of talk about the larger global problem of how much are opiates actually prescribed, or are they overprescribed? Somebody recently told me an anecdote about going in for a relatively minor dental procedure, and the dentist said, okay, basically kind of put it in the ballpark, put it in the lap of the patient of saying, well, how many Percocets do you think you need, or for how long? So it's an element of the problem. Looking at another major component of the data, what our students are saying about bullying and cyberbullying. Okay, again, we've got a positive trend as far as students identifying, do you believe that you were a victim of bullying, or do you believe that you were a perpetrator of bullying? Okay, and again, the definition is in the last 12 months, were one or more students teasing you, threatening you, spreading rumors, hit, shove, and so on. And the same thing, cyberbullying defined as using the internet, cell phones, or electronic devices to bully, tease, threaten, or spread rumors about something. So a positive trend. When our middle school students are asked about it, you can see it's some variations, some downward trends, but slightly higher, basically in the same ballpark as far as percentage identified as at the high school. Interesting, they also ask about bystanders. How many of you heard or saw another student being cyberbullied? Okay. Kind of interesting, maybe implications here of the work that we need to do. Told an adult at school that somebody was being cyberbullied, told a parent or adult outside of school that somebody was being cyberbullied. So relatively small percentages here. Okay, interesting data here, school climate related to bullying. These were a new set of questions that were asked to middle school students as far as, do school rules protect students from bullying? When teachers see bullying, do they do something about it? This is kind of this is a little bit misleading because it's kind of a negatively thing. There is not much schools can do to prevent cyberbullying. Only 29% of our kids say, oh, I disagree with that statement. So the majority of our kids do feel that schools can do something to tackle bullying and cyberbullying. Something that I made a decision that I thought was also interesting data, data around distracted driving, which is also key health data. How many of our kids were driving while texting or emailing? Okay, slight decrease, but you still have a factor of about 39% saying that they've done that. Driving while talking on the phone, not with a hands-free device, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's against the law in Massachusetts, also 39%. So some interesting data there. Trends and perceptions of risk. Do you think driving in a car with somebody who's been drinking is dangerous? Yeah, most of our kids think that's very dangerous, 83%. Thinking of driving in a car with somebody who smoked pot is dangerous. It's only 50%. So again, I think that's a student perception, but it's also a societal perception. Some of our mental health data. Interesting, our high school students, life very stressful. You've got a jump of over 10% within the last 30 days. To be fair, I think John pointed out, we administered the survey right before the early action due dates for college. Okay, so you got to be fair, and usually in looking at a lot of this data, you see some of the biggest peaks in your data with your senior class when you disaggregate it. But students feel stressed about school issues, feel stressed about family issues, feel stressed about physical or emotional health. You see jumps in all four. And when you take that data, they keep it simple for the middle school kids. There's only one stress question, and I'm kind of glad about this, to be 100% honest. Life is very stressful. It's only 15%. Life is good when you're 12, I guess. I thought it was interesting to put things in perspective, again, of our kids versus, again, the regional and the state statistics and also the national statistics around depression, around suicidal tendencies, and so on. In many ways, it mirrors the data. It's very, very similar. Also for our middle school students as well. I think it's also important to do protective factors. What are the things that are going well? What are the things that help students make good decisions? Because essentially that's what it comes down to. 3 statements. I feel close to people at this school. I feel like I'm a part of this school. And I feel safe in my school. Okay? We're doing very well. I do think, though, that there is room for growth there. Okay, we're talking upwards of around 70 to 80% of those statements. I would want to know as a follow-up, okay, if for the 20 to 30% of students that didn't agree or strongly agree, why didn't they? And again, if you look at NISCA, same exact 3 statements. You're also a little bit higher, and you're in that 80% agree or strongly agree. This kind of speaks to also relationships with adults. Do you have an adult at the school to talk to about a personal problem? About 2/3. Do you have a parent or a non-school to talk to about important things? You're over 90% for our kids. And again, that's the high school and very, very similar data at the middle school. Also kind of looking at our kids as far as, again, versus the region. Do they have friends that they can talk to about a personal problem? Do they feel like they're a group of friends? As you can see, again, it's in that 70–75% range. Also at the middle school as well. Something that I thought was very, very interesting too is looking at how much do our kids sleep? How much homework are they doing? How much are they online? Okay, so I'll start with our middle school kids, and you kind of have an interesting breakdown here. The blue is female, the gray is male. So the majority of our middle schoolers are getting at least 8 hours of sleep, which we could probably have a healthy debate that, you know, a 12-year-old kid probably should be getting upwards of about 10 hours, right? I know that's tough to do. But then looking at how much time are they spending online, how much homework are they doing, and how much screen time do they have? And each of these kind of speak to 3+ hours. As you can see the split, the girls are getting less sleep, but they're doing more homework, they're online more, and they have more screen time. When you split it to the high school, so here's middle school, here's high school, our poor high schoolers just aren't getting that much sleep. Okay, and then you've got this split where the girls are getting even less than the boys. But then the girls are doing more homework, they are online slightly more, but the boys are getting more screen time at the high school. This is kind of interesting data. So there's all of this data, and I would say, what's the net of it? What does it actually mean, and what are we doing? Last spring, Maureen Cohen applied for, and our district received a $9,500 grant from the Metrowest Health, so that all of our counseling staff could be trained in dialectical behavior therapy, which is a cognitive behavior therapy that kind of speaks to some of these risk behaviors. We've also been trained and planning on implementing the SBIRT, or Screening, Brief Intervention, and Referral to Treatment tool, which is a simple protocol that our nurses can use in the screening process to see if a student is at risk for potential substance use and abuse. I know at NIPMUC, and I believe, John, we did this last year as well, we've got 2 wellness weeks planned, one in December and one will be in the spring as well. And again, speaking to that anxiety issue, teaching kids some basic strategies, particularly to deal with stress. We've had over the last 2 or 3 years a fairly robust advisory program here at the high school. And some of the advisory program lessons have a thematic approach, and particularly focusing on the areas of mindfulness and coping skills, again, speaking to that stress piece. We've each, over the last 3 years, we've done substance abuse forums with various partners within the region to kind of draw awareness to various issues, and particularly most recently the opiate crisis. We've had here at the high school Chris Heron from the Heron Project speak to all of our students and also do an evening for our parents. And I know at the middle school they're planning on Chris Sullivan, former New England Patriot, to come in and talk to our students, and also to, again, to do an evening for our parents to talk about substance abuse issues. Something that we're very excited, and I know our school nurses are excited, is looking at a new curriculum strand, a program known as Smart Moves, Smart Choices. And it's essentially a curriculum from the Northeastern University School Health Institute, which is kind of a professional organization, a clearinghouse for school nurses and also for health instruction within New England. They're looking to take this curriculum and to put it into our existing health curriculum. And last but not least, a collaboration that we've had for the last couple of years with the Family Continuity Project of Whitensville, who brings in counselors here into Nipmuc to work with identified students. So I think we've put a lot in place. I think there's always room for improvement. I think we have to take this data, we have to be reflective about it, and realize that we have to have programming in our school, but also counter that with doing more to get this data out there, to address it with our parents, because it's community data. So I'd be happy to take some questions if you have it. First, let me go to the committee. Laura.
The amount of data is overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and realize I felt a little guilty because this is a 42-slide PowerPoint. Okay, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get into around body image, around obesity, around nutritional habits, and so on. I think this is some of the most telling data. It's some of the most timely data. I think it's the data that we've got to watch the most carefully.
I have a question. The slide that you went over that showed the female to male differential, is that trend, did you have information that that trend was like following the same pattern statewide and national wide?
Difficult to tell because they don't, we probably would have to do some digging, but what they give back to you, they only give you the female-male breakdown for your own district. They don't give it for either the region, the state, or national. But that would be interesting to see. It wouldn't shock me, Dorothy, if it was similar throughout the Commonwealth.
So I'm a little astounded by the bullying, like 30%. Is that right? Cyberbullying, well, it's lower for cyberbullying, but just regular. That, I'm astounded by that, 30% of kids are reporting that they've been bullied. So I'm a little shocked by that. Okay, I mean, I feel like that should require some attention. I like the idea of the Wellness Week. Do we just do that at Nipmuc, or do we do that at other schools as well?
As far as a formal defining it as a Wellness Week, only at Nipmuc.
Are there plans to maybe kind of bring that down to the MISCO level too?
I think absolutely.
It's a lot of information.
It is overwhelming. I guess I think looking at the bullying data, I think it's important, and I did not show, again, trying to save some time, I didn't show the data showing the bullying reporting data of state and region and so on.
Right.
Okay, if I chose to show that purple slide, and I'll give you all 240 slides, you'd see that the Nipmuc and the MISCO data is actually lower. Okay, I've got to be very honest and don't misconstrue my topic that I don't take bullying seriously. I think myself and the entire admin team take it extremely seriously. But I think in the advent of what the state has been through with regard to bullying, and where the road that we've had to go down since 2008 in developing district-wide bullying plans and so on, and training. I think there, in the minds of our students and also, quite frankly, the minds of our parents, there's some varied definitions of what bullying are. Okay, when I worked as a high school principal, and now when things filter up to my office, sometimes I've been involved in difficult meetings where somebody is calling something bullying, and quite frankly, it's not bullying. Okay, somebody being mean to somebody or somebody making a statement, you know, that's unkind is not bullying. Bullying speaks to a pattern, a repeated pattern of behavior. So I wouldn't be shocked, to be 100% honest with you, that that number might be a little bit on the high end, okay? There's some statistics there about depressive symptoms, suicide, and so on. I think we could also have a healthy debate about that. Not that I am minimizing any of the data. I think to the contrary, we should take this data extremely seriously. But I think you have to norm reference it and look at what's happening regionally, what's happening within the state, and what do the national numbers say. Any other questions? Lauren?
My first question was on the bullying also. I know you don't have a slide on the male versus female, but do you happen to remember, was there a difference, significant difference in male versus female?
I do have a slide, even though I don't have it up there. If my memory serves me correctly, it was higher female to male.
It is, for female, it's 40 what bullying victim was 40.8 for female and 27.4 for male. Cyberbully was 24.5 for females and 14.1 for males.
So pretty significant spread.
My other question was, how was the survey distributed to the students? Was it like in homeroom?
It's done in class.
It's very prescribed. You have to, the entire school has to take it at the same time. So you have to tell the state or Metrowest what period of what day you're taking it, and the entire population takes it in their homeroom. And that day, and then we send it on. It's kind of MCASI-ish, very, very stringent. And I think it's done the same way at the high school, John.
Yes, we pick a block of the day. We administer it at the same time for all students during a single class period.
And do students, are they made aware of what they're taking this test?
Yes.
And to take it
It's
seriously?
part of the direction. It's kind of interesting. They give an explanation of the methodology, and part of the explanation talks about the reliability and the validity of the results. And they intentionally scrub any data that they feel is completely erroneous. The kid that just fills in D, across, that gets tossed out. Or a student, when they run them through, that puts contradictory statements. I used alcohol in the last 30 days often, and then says no to lifetime use. If it's in multiple places scattered like that, that's also scrubbed as well. Our numbers that were scrubbed were very, very small, like maybe 5 or 6 students at each building. They've got research studies that kind of back the validity and reliability of the numbers. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next thing on the agenda was to have a couple of students from Hopedale High that are starting a community impact project called Love Life, Do What's Right project, but they weren't able to be here this evening, so we're going to push that off to the next meeting so they can present their idea.
And they're actually reaching out to the greater community. They're in Oakdale, but they're reaching out to the greater community to start involving students from other districts and to get some great information out there, as well as it being a fundraiser. Do we have any other matters not anticipated by the committee within the last 48 hours? Okay, our future agenda items include school committee goal setting on December 7th, a foundation budget review commission report on December 7th, and emergency first pass FY17 budget on January 25th. All right, so it looks like at 8:20, we are adjourned. Oh, no motion. Any discussion? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 8:20.
Yeah, I get it.